Professor, Department of History, as well as Dean, School of Social Sciences, Dibrugarh University. Respected participants from different colleges, my dear student participants, at the very onset, I welcome you all to this online webinar entitled Indo-US Relations since 1991. This webinar is being organized by the Department of History in collaboration with Internal Quality Assurance Cell of Duliajan College. So, as you know that we have been going through a very unprecedented time. Despite having so much time, we are finding difficult how to pass time, particularly in the teaching fraternity. It's unbearable because, you know, the teachers are ready to teach, disseminate our knowledge. Students are ready to take the classes, infrastructure is ready. Despite this fact, the wheel has been stopped by a mere piece of DNA called novel coronavirus. Nevertheless, we have been trying to make this unprecedented time a bit meaningful by inviting some of the eminent personalities, scholars, academicians of our society to share their knowledge on this online platform among the faculties as well as students of our college and nearby colleges. So with these few words, I once again welcome you all to this webinar, and I welcome heartily Dr. Borwa sir also. We look forward to your enlightened deliberation. With these words, I now request Dr. Lokbikas Gogoi sir, Principal Duliajan College, to put forth his inaugural speech. Thank you.
Thank you, Narendra. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Honorable resource person, Professor Borwa sir, faculty members of different colleges, dear colleagues, and my dear participants. It's my great privilege to welcome you all to this national webinar on the topic Indo-US relations since 1991, organized by the Department of History in collaboration with IQAC, Duliajan College. Now, if we try to see in the past, we see that the relations between India and USA were overshadowed by Cold War politics that results many ups and downs in the bilateral relations, sometimes warmer and sometimes more troubled, frequently shaped by divergent perceptions. The Indo-Soviet friendship and the US-Pak alliances were the two major irritants. In the year 1990, the Cold War was terminated with the disintegration of the Soviet Union. After this, situations were changed and the relations between India and USA took a new turn. Presently, India-US relations are improving even further, leading to several mutual visits. Thus, the future is full of optimism. There is a common focus on combating terrorism, cybercrime, etc. Above all, there is a strong desire to move ahead in improving bilateral relations. Democracy is certainly an important common structural factor for cooperation. Present extraordinary times due to COVID-19 require even closer cooperation between friends like India and US. The tweet of US President, thank you, India and the Indian people for the decision on uh, hydroxychloroquine will not be forgotten. To our Honorable Prime Minister when India agreed to allow exports of the anti-malarial drug hydroxychloroquine to the US is definitely a remarkable example of good bilateral relations. And to give light on this important topic, today we are fortunate enough for having with us Dr. Vishwajit Barua, Professor, Department of History, and also Dean of Social Science, Dibrugarh University. We are immensely grateful to you, sir. I also offer my sincere thanks to the webinar coordinator, organizing department, IQSC joint coordinators, and technical team, without whose constant effort this webinar would have not been possible. With these words, I conclude my inaugural speech. Thank you.
Thank you, Gogoi sir. Now I request the coordinator of today's webinar, Rubul Khatorniar, to introduce our honorable guest speaker and the resource person, Dr. Barua sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, you are audible.
First of all, a warm welcome to our national webinar entitled Indo-China Relations Indo-US Relations since 1991 by our renowned resource persons, Dr. Vishwajit Barua sir. He is the Professor of History and Dean, Faculty of Social Science, Dibrugarh University. He earlier and also the Dean, Faculty of Social Science, Dibrugarh University. Earlier he was a lecturer from BSSK College since 1980 to 1990. He joined Dibrugarh University in 1990 and is a professor in the Department of History since 1920. Till that, he was now the professor of and the head of the Department of History. Till that, 5 PhD scholars and 12 MPhil scholars have obtained their degree under his supervision. 6 books have been authored by him. His area of specialization is international relations and contemporary world. This is the introduction of Professor Vishwajit Barua sir. I now request Dr. Vishwajit Barua sir to deliver his speech. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Rubul. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Am I audible? Huh?
Yes,
Everyone?
sir, you are audible. Yeah.
Okay. So a very warm afternoon to everybody. Thanks goes to the principal, Dr. Gogoi, the coordinators, and the faculty members of the Duliajan College, as well as all the participants who are interested in listening to me. As a matter of fact, Indo-US relations is very interesting due to 2 reasons. Both the countries are the world's largest democracies today. Secondly, both USA as well as India were colonies of the British Empire in the past. So these 2 factors have brought us closer after independence. And even before independence, as many of you may not know this fact, that many of the American citizens, including American senators, many of them requested Sir Winston Churchill, the then Prime Minister of England, to grant independence to India, but that was not done by him. Actually, it was only Clement Attlee who actually granted us independence in 1947. And there are other organizations like the Ghadar Party and others who were based in the United States, and they were all uh, garnering support from the American people for our independence. So gone are those days. I'll quickly just go through uh, uh, what happened after independence. Then I'll come to the basic point, that is after 1991, what was the relation between India and the United States. Uh, After 1947, there were many issues which came up that actually, were irritations between the two countries. For example, the Cold War. After 1945, we hear about the first Cold War that broke out between the two superpowers, United States of America and former Soviet Union, and both of them actually wanted India's support. But India, as you all know, in those days, under the prime ministership of Pandit Nehru, we adopted non-aligned policy. And so we always stood away from Cold War politics, which was not liked by the United States of America. Uh, but but at other times, though these were irritants, but we were fortunate during the 1962 India-China border war. It was President John F. Kennedy who came to our support. Otherwise, we never know what would have happened to Assam, at least in that war. Uh, so then there are other irritants like the 1965 Indo-Pak War, Bangladesh War, and during Bangladesh War, our relations had gone downhill, especially during Richard Nixon's time, because they had given full support to West Pakistan. But Indira Gandhi was giving support to Sheikh Mujibur Rahman for the creation of Bangladesh. Uh, so there are many other constraints. For example, in 1974, when India for the first time exploded the nuclear device at Pokhran during the Prime Ministership of Mrs. Indira Gandhi. So that was not liked at all by United States of America because we had not signed the previous treaties like the NPT, that is Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty of 1968. So United States objected to it vehemently, saying that India was going ahead with her nuclear program. And so the nuclear fuel which she was getting from USA, uranium mainly, that was stopped all of a sudden. But only after some time during Carter's period, and after that, we were allowed that very precious uranium from a third party, that was France. So again, there are other constraints like the Vietnam War. There we had always, supported North Vietnam, not South, because South was was always held by the United States of America. Then you take the case of Arab-Israeli wars. India was always supporting the Arab cause, the cause of Palestine, and so on. But the United States was supporting Israel. So those were the days, the 40s, 50s, 60s. We find that there were many ups and downs in Indo-US relations. So because there are times like the time of President John F. Kennedy or say Jimmy Carter, our relation was at the top. But very soon during the time of Richard Nixon, and even during the period of Ronald Reagan, our relationship was going down at a downward pace. And it was very, very, the relations were deteriorating to a great extent. But it is very interesting in international relations. We should all remember this. There is no permanent friend. There is no permanent enemy. What is permanent is always our own self-interest. What should be our interest, India's interest, that comes first. Today, someone might be your enemy. Tomorrow, he might be a very good friend. So this is diplomacy. So thereafter, now we come to the actual stage that was when the new Cold War started in 1979, when Soviet military troops had entered Afghanistan. So that started the new Cold War, and it lasted till 1989, when the last Soviet soldier withdrew from Afghanistan. So during this whole period of new Cold War, New Cold War was raging throughout Africa, so Ethiopia, Somalia, uh, and then even in Central America, Nicaragua, Grenada, Honduras, and so many other nations. Cold War was overshadowing all these politics of these different countries, where United States supported one party, the rival was supported by Soviet Union. But anyway, happily, New Cold War had ended in 1991. I will say 1991. These are there are two reasons actually. First of all, 1990 December 3rd, Germany, which was always divided into two since Second World War, East Germany, which was communist, West Germany, which was under the American control. So we find that Germany, after 45 long years, where reunited in 1990. Then came the second incident, 1991, when Soviet Union, disintegrated, and that actually will end the Cold War, because Cold War was between Soviet Union and United States of America. These were the two superpowers in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. And so, with the disintegration of Soviet Union, we find that United States became the only superpower in this world. So thereafter, we find that this had happened during the time of George Bush. It was during his period. He had ruled from 1989 to 1992. And in those days, we find that how, with the disintegration of former Soviet Union, George Bush was at the top. And it was he who had interfered in the Gulf War, the first Gulf War. We all remember 1990-91. So when Saddam Hussein of Iraq, suddenly he had invaded Kuwait on August 2, that was 1990. So the United States will now play a pivotal role, because the United States, she was so powerful that she did not even care for the United Nations. And in the name of multinational forces, United States had entered this Gulf War. And fortunately, by February 1991, the Gulf War had ended with the defeat of Saddam Hussein, who was at that time the dictator of Iraq. And Kuwait was, she got back her independence. And in those days, our Prime Minister at that time was Chandrasekhar. He had also given some sort of material help in the beginning, but that was objected by the Arab countries. And so at least he gave moral support to George Bush. And at other times also, we find India had given cooperation to USA, especially when we talk about the civil war in Bosnia, that was raging in full swing in 1992 mainly, and how ultimately India also sent her forces, military forces, peacekeeping forces to maintain law and order. Ultimately, Bosnia, Croatia, Serbia, they all became separate entities. So America was happy with India's role in this war. Then comes Bill Clinton, who entered the White House in January 1993. And this 1991, as I had said earlier, from 1991, we had a new prime minister. It was P.V. Narasimha Rao. And it was this 1991 when we first hear about globalization mainly, what we call LPG, liberalization, privatization, and globalization. So India had fully opened up her markets to the United States and other countries. And and today we all know what is globalization, how far it has entered the different countries, especially the third world countries. And so we therefore find, but there were certain hitches between India and USA, because India never signed the NPT in 1968. She did not sign the NPT Extension Treaty in 1995. She did not sign the Comprehensive Test-Ban Treaty of 1996. So these were certain irritants between India and the USA. And We all know, as I said, that Clinton was the president for 2 terms, from 1993 to 2000. And therefore, we find that it was during his period India had antagonized the USA because we did not sign these two, treaties. But even then, we find that what you call that Bill Clinton, he had visited India, and he gave us support when we were fighting against the terrorists. And it was during his visit uh, there was a terrorist attack in India, and which he vehemently condemned. And this actually pleased India that anyway USA was on her support. And so anyway, then the other part which I want to stress upon is another irritant between the two is that when she did not sign this those treaties, but prior to that also there were two events which I just forgot to mention. This was the 1998, the second Pokhran test. So we had tested 5 more tests, nuclear weapons at Pokhran in Rajasthan. So that again annoyed not only USA, Japan, and England, Germany, so many other countries were very, very angry with India. And this was during the time of Prime Ministership of Atal Bihari Vajpayee. So, but the next year, 1999, when we have the Kargil War, it was America, USA, who gave us massive support and uh, told Pakistan to withdraw her forces from the Kargil heights. As we all know, we have heard about this Operation Vijay. So it was a daring victory and for India. So, and therefore, but after Clinton, George Bush, the senior, I mean, George Bush, the junior George Bush, George W. Bush, he became the president of the United States from 2001. At that time, we have heard about this terrorist attack masterminded by Osama bin Laden against the Twin Towers of New York, the New York Trade Center, and then the Pentagon, the American Armed Forces headquarters, how it was bombarded by hijacked planes. So India will support United States in her fight against terrorists, international terrorists mainly, especially Al Qaeda and other forces behind them. So therefore, we find that India and the United States relation was never uniform. Sometimes it was very cordial. At other times, it was not very cordial. At other times, it was not at all cordial. So this went on under different tenures. And we even find that in 2003, the second Gulf War that was waged against Saddam Hussein because he was suspected of, clandestinely keeping chemical weapons. But later events will show that it was just a hoax. But anyway, he was caught and he was hanged in 2005. So one thing we should remember, India should remember that India had very cordial relations with both the Arab world, mainly Iraq, Iran, because we used to buy oil from them. But anyway, being a dictator, he was done away with. And this is what we also call the Arab Spring, because especially from 2010-11, America always wanted that the dictators in the Arab world should be, they should be kicked out of power. And that actually happened everywhere, whether you call it in what you call Iraq, or whether it was in Muammar Gaddafi, and Sudan, and so many other countries, except for Syria. Bashar al-Assad is still in power, so nothing could be done against him. Then we have another point that is, this was during the later period. It was in 2005, 18 July. The United States, under Section 123 of the U.S. Atomic Energy and Nuclear Act, she agreed to cooperate with India so far civil supplies and nuclear, what you call nuclear fuel was concerned. She would cooperate with India, especially for bolstering what you call this peacekeeping, not peacekeeping, peaceful use of nuclear energy. Because nuclear power is not that it is always destructive. It can be used to harness power also. Because today the world is facing crisis. So far, oil is concerned, gas is concerned, coal is concerned. These are all getting exhausted. So therefore, and India and other countries today have to go for the wind power, hydro power, hydroelectric power, solar power, uh, what do you call it, nuclear power. So these are the things which should be taken into consideration, and we need a lot of cooperation and help from these powerful countries. Then again, we can come back to the other um, uh, event that was during the time of Barack Hussein Obama. He had become the president, and he had visited India on 6th and 8th November 2010. And his visit was also quite fruitful, not in the true sense, but we expected that United States will help India to get the permanent membership of UN Security Council, but that was not to be in the real sense. And then we also had uh, that Barack Obama had allowed us to, import high-tech items from United States worth about $10 billion. Thirdly, during his period, United States will help India to get membership of NSG, that is Nuclear Suppliers Group, then Missile Technology Control Regime, the Australia Group, and all this. Though we have not signed NPT, but the United States has been kind enough to do away with all those what you call the restrictions. So, but Barack Obama's tenure was not good for one particular cause. That is, he had given aid to Pakistan, about military aid around 18 billion US dollars, which antagonized India because India never shared good relationship with Pakistan. So that was a grave threat to India's security also. And United States was also not was also maintaining silence over China's plan to supply nuclear reactors to Pakistan. As we all know, when in 1998 we had tested five nuclear weapons in 1998 Pokhran, there also Pakistan did the same just 2 weeks later. So India was always wary and always not feeling secure because we are having two not very good allies, but they are very good friends. We all know China and Pakistan are all-weather friends. Moreover, they built the Aksai Chin Road, the Karakoram Highway, which is always a security threat, especially to Kashmir. So, therefore, Barack Obama's not very, I mean, his very lenient policy towards Pakistan and China had irritated India. So relations were not very good at that time. And moreover, United States wanted that India should toe the American line in Afghanistan or say in Iran. But that was not to be because we have good relations with Afghanistan, historically speaking. We had very good relations with even Iran and also with Iraq, as I have already repeated, because we have to get oil from them. And moreover, we have got an agreement with Iran for supplying those, what you call the natural gas to under the, what you call the sea, right from Iran to Arabian Sea. So therefore, the gas is also required by us. Then again, Indo-US relations, therefore, have to take into consideration not simply Indo-US, China as well as Pakistan must come into play because relations can never be bilateral. There's always a third party who comes in between. Therefore, the Chinese factor must be taken into account. And then next period, we can go to Narendra Modi, the present Prime Minister. He had paid a visit when he became the prime minister in 2014, and he visited United States, and he, along with Barack Obama, they had planned to bolster up more and more economic cooperation between the two countries. United States agreed with India that will be given about around 1 billion US dollars of concessional financial finance from the US Export Import Bank for our renewable energy development. So how it would be giving help for our energy needs. Then after that we have visited Narendra Modi visit in 2014, as I said, was really a welcome event. Then this agreement, there was a number of agreements during Obama and Narendra Modi's period. We had that the U.S. government would welcome, U.S. The U.S. industries will give help to India to set up smart cities in Ajmer, that is in Rajasthan, Visakhapatnam in Andhra Pradesh, Allahabad in Uttar Pradesh. Then Modi and Obama, they will also direct their officials to consult with all the other members of WTO, that is World Trade Organization. So this Modi's ambitious plan to extend financial services to all the citizens, like the Jan Dhan Yojana. So this was all was accepted by Obama. It was quite an improvement of our financial policy. Then also USA had agreed to cooperate in the locomotive industry, equipment for the railways, and therefore these were certain very important achievements during this period. Then we find that there was another trip, that is by Modi, to the United States in 28th September 2019. As we all know, we have heard about Howdy Modi, how he had paid a visit to Houston to commemorate Mahatma Gandhi's 150th birth anniversary. And there also we find how Donald Trump would be welcoming Modi, and India was again granted a waiver by the Nuclear Suppliers Group, as that we can have civil nuclear trade between these countries. So then we have another very important achievement. So for defense and security is concerned, we find that in the beginning, India always depended on Soviet Union for her defense needs, especially the Air Force. We have all heard about MiG-21, MiG-23, MiG-27, MiG-29. These are all Russian planes. But we never purchased American arms. But now we find, I'll give you just quick names of those items which United States had supplied to India. This started with Obama in 2008. He had agreed to supply India very medium transport aircraft, that is C-130J Hercules. Then in 2009, United States will supply anti-submarine warfare aircraft. That is aircraft that has got a power, the capacity to destroy submarines. That is why it is called anti-submarine warfare aircraft. Then 2011 is a very heavy transport aircraft. It can, carry tanks, trucks, and all that. It is called C-17 Globemaster. It's a very heavy transport aircraft required by the military. 2013, also Obama's period, we got another item that is called Hercules medium transport. This is not heavy, it's a medium transport. And the other one, we have heard of the name of this helicopter, Chinook. It's a heavy transport helicopter supplied during the time of Obama in 2015. Then comes Donald Trump's period. He has agreed to give us the P-81 anti-submarine warfare aircraft. Then in 2017, he had given us howitzers, what you call cannons. In 2018, again, heavy transport aircraft. Then in 2020, this year itself, we have got Seahawk anti-submarine warfare helicopter. This is a helicopter. It can attack submarines. And the last but not the least, you have all heard about the Apache helicopter. And this is a really state-of-the-art helicopter. It's used for, uh, it can be used anywhere, in any terrain. So this is an attack helicopter. And a very important item which I want to talk about is in January this year, 2020, United States and Australia, they will define the Indo-Pacific group that will also include India and Japan. This is very interesting, and it's very good for our security. And this will not be at all liked by China. So we have now India, Japan, USA, trilateral uh, group. Then there is India, Japan, USA, Australia. It's a quadrilateral dialogue. So therefore, we can say 2 plus 2, whether it is Japan, USA, or India, Australia. So we have this group, and it is also it will be a boon for our military exercise, and that had taken place in 2019. So therefore, both countries are therefore toward today looking for a greater economic cooperation, in spite of all the uh, do's and don'ts, whatever we call it, whether there are positive factors or negative factors. But trade relations have picked up. Today, we are also helping in the USA and other countries. We are all doing research now in the present context, how to find out a vaccine for the deadly COVID-19 virus. And we are also cooperating with each other to, uh, destroy this nexus between international terrorists and drugs. So this is a very important thing. And today, even our educational policy, new education policy is coming into being. And this is what I talk about. It's doing away with the British educational system of the past, and coming to really it has got a close relationship with the American education system. And this will be a boon for our future generation. So whatever factor is there in foreign policy or international relations, we should always remember that goodwill visits must be resorted, economic trade collaborations must pick up. Sometimes bilateral relations may not be good, but if economic relations are good, it will really help to bring two countries closer. This I had noticed during the Reagan period. Reagan and Indira Gandhi's and Rajiv Gandhi's period was not at all good for India so far the political relations were concerned. But so far, economic and trade, you'll never believe me that it was so positive, and the number of investments and collaborations were at the top during Reagan's period, whether it was in health and technology, saving the tiger, or cleaning the river Ganga, supplying medical kits for the cancer patients, and whatnot. So therefore, whether whatever our beliefs or whatever our ideologies may be, one ideology is similar, that is, we all believe in democracy. But anyway, the last point I want to mention is that, as some of you had already pointed out, the relations are on the upswing, it's improving. But the last thing I'll point out, this a couple of days back, Donald Trump has said that he wants to cancel this H-1B, what do you call the visas, and this will really be it will be really a disadvantage for our Indian students or for Indian workers, because if they are not granted H-1B visas, they will all lose their jobs, or they will not be able to pursue further their studies. So this has to be taken into account, because Donald Trump thinks that if foreigners come and settle down in USA, Americans will lose their job opportunities. In a way, he might be right. But anyway, let us see what happens in the near future. Let us hope for the best. In spite of ups and downs, let us hope the Indo-US relations come closer. Thank you. Thank you. Hello.
Rubul.
I finished, okay?
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Sir.
So we'll wait for that Q&A session. Rubul, কাৰোবাৰ যদি কিবা
sir.
সুধিবলগীয়া আছে তুমি কোৱেশ্চন খিনি হেৰি কৰা
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I'm open to questions.
Anybody question, please?
Participants, if you have
Any
any
doubts?
query, please feel free to ask.
Any doubts? Anything? Actually, I had hurried, no? A bit. এনে বুজি পাইছে নে বাৰু অসমীয়াত ক'ব লাগিব নেকি
Sir, I have a question.
Yes.
কোৱাচোন
Yes, please.
Sir, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Sir, am I audible?
Yes. আপোনাৰ ইন্ট্ৰোডাকশনটো দিয়ক
Sir, I'm a student of Duliajan University History Department. My name is Gaurav Saikia. Sir, do you think that the America all the time extend their helping hands towards India, basically, sir, in the sector of economic and the weapon system and other kind of things? All these are due to suppressed the Chinese aggressions in the context of in the whole of the Asian economic sector.
মানে কি কৈছে অসমীয়াতে খুদা না অসমীয়াতে কৈছে ধৰিব পৰা নাই
Sir,
মানে অস্ত্ৰ দিয়া কথাটো কৈছে
হয় স্যার অস্ত্ৰ পৰা আৰম্ভ কৰি স্যাৰ
অস্ত্ৰ মই আগতে কৈ দিছিলো যে কেনেডিয়ে আমাক অস্ত্ৰ দিছিলে নেহেৰুৰ দিনত ইণ্ডিয়া চাইনা ৱাৰ সেইটো সময়ত আমি যদি নাপালোহেঁতেন আমাৰ তেজপুৰ সব গুচি গ'লহেঁতেন চাইনাৰ হাতত so we are very grateful to John F Kennedy দেই মই সেইটো এটা সদায় মই কৈ পাৰিছো আপোনালোকেটো মানিব লাগিব দেই কেনে আমাৰ সম্পৰ্ক সদায় ভাল নাছিলে কিন্তু কেনেডিয়ে কিন্তু আমাক বচালে তাহাঁতি বম দিলালৈকে আহি পাইছিলে জানানে চাইনাই তো আমাৰতো অস্ত্ৰ একোৱে নাই গমেই পাইছিলা আমাৰ একেবাৰে কেনেকুৱা অৱস্থা কৰিলে আৰু ইকনমিটো মই কৈছিলো
স্যার চাইনাৰ মানে যিটো এগ্ৰেছন সেইটো ৰখাবৰ কাৰণে স্যাৰ বেছিকে মানে হেল্প কৰিব পাৰে নেকি তেওঁলোকে চাইনাৰ যিটো মানে এগ্ৰেছন বজাই ৰাখিছে গোটেই সাউথ ইষ্টাৰ্ণ কাণ্ট্ৰি বিলাকৰ তেওঁলোকৰ ইকনমিক কমোডিটি বিলাকৰ বিক্ৰী যোগেদি খুব মানে কম দামত তেনেকে ধৰক মানে নিজৰ বস্তু বিক্ৰী কৰিব পাৰে
তোমাৰ কোৱেশ্চনটো খুব ধুনীয়া কোৱেশ্চন কৰিছা এতিয়াতো বৰ্তমান যুগতটো তুমি হেতেটো কোৱা টিকটক চাইছিলা নে এইটো কথা ইউ আৰ গিভিং এ ভেৰি গুড কোৱেশ্চন টু মি পুটিং এ ভেৰি গুড কোৱেশ্চন থ্যাংক ইউ সো মাচ চোৱা
থ্যাংক ইউ স্যার
তোমাক মই আজি এটা কথা কওঁ এই যে মই এইবিলাক যে আছিলে মই এতিয়া নামেই পাহৰিলো নহয় যেনেকে আমাৰ এইবিলাক যে আছিলে হোৱাটছআপ এইবিলাক কি আছে কোৱাচোন নামকেইটাই পাহৰিলো মই ৰবা টিকটকে হওক আমাৰ ৱালমাৰ্টে হওক তুমি এটা কথা জানিবা ৱালমাৰ্টৰ মেজৰ শ্বেয়াৰ ইজ অফ দ্য চাইনিজ আজি চাইনাৰ তুমি দেৱালী ফটকা ফুটাইছে চাইনিজ শিৱাকাশী নাই ফুটোৱা মানে মিছা কথা নকবা টুনি লাইট চাইনিজ হয় নে নহয় কোৱাচোন ফাকুৱা যে ৰং খেলিছা ইট ইজ চাইনিজ আজি তোমাৰ ওচৰত কি আছে মই কি ক'ম এতিয়া খুব কম দামতে তোমাৰ এইটো আছে ফোনো আছে আছে নে তোমাৰ আছে নে মই এনে সুধি কথাটোহে কৈছো যে দিজ আৰ চাইনিজ গুডছ ৱাই তেওঁলোকে ইমান কম দামত বিক্ৰী কৰিব পাৰে বস্তুবিলাক আমাৰ নোপোচায় আমি নোৱাৰিম তাৰমানে সেইকাৰণে তেওঁলোকৰ বস্তু গট এ গ্ৰেট ডিমাণ্ড ইন অল দ্য থাৰ্ড ৱৰ্ল্ড কাণ্ট্ৰিজ কেলে তুমিওনো কেলে ইমান বেছি দাম দি কিনিবা কোৱাচোন তেওঁলোকক 5,000 যদি পোৱা তুমি 20,000 কেলে কিনিবা হা ত' আজি ইলেক্ট্ৰনিকে হওক তাৰপিছত এতিয়া আনকি তুমি আমি যে এতিয়া ৰাফালে যে কিনিলো মই কথাটো পাহৰি গৈছো ৰাফালে অৱশ্যে আমেৰিকাৰ লগত জড়িত নহয় এইটো ফ্ৰান্সৰ পৰা কিনিছো তেওঁলোকৰ যিখন জে চামথিং আছে সেইটো বোলে আমাতকে সেইখনতকে ভালে বোলে চাইনিজ যিটো ফাইটাৰ যে কিবা নাম্বাৰটো পাহৰিছো মই দেই ইট ইজ বেটাৰ দেন ৰাফালে এয়াৰক্ৰাফ্ট তুমি ভাবা এতিয়া ইণ্ডিয়া সদায় কনচাৰ্ণ থাকে আৰু তুমি যিটো কথা ক'লে এই থাৰ্ড ৱৰ্ল্ড কাণ্ট্ৰিজ যিটোৱে আছে গৰীব দেশ দুখীয়া দেশ দে কেনট এফৰ্ড টু বাই ভেৰি কষ্টলি আইটেমছ হয় নে তেওঁলোকে চব চেক্টৰতে কব্জা কৰিছে আজি তোমাক মই এটা ইণ্টাৰেষ্টিং কথা মই ইণ্ডিয়া চাইনা ৰিলেশ্যনছত মই ইয়াত নকৰো কেলে মই ইণ্ডিয়া US পাইছোতো মই সেইদিনা নাহৰকটীয়া কলেজত ইণ্ডিয়া চাইনা ৰিলেশ্যন কৰো বুজিছানে তাতে তুমি বিশ্বাস কৰা আমাৰ যে ৰেলৱে যে যিমান চিগনেল লাইট বিলাক দেখিছা ৰেলৰ ষ্টেচনবিলাকত দিজ আৰ অল চাইনিজ নট ইণ্ডিয়া এই যে ট্ৰেফিক লাইট বিলাক ৰেলৱেৰ সব চাইনিজ কেনেকে তাহাঁতি সোমাই গৈছে আৰু চাপোজ আজি মই এটা কথা কওঁ দেই ভিয়েটনাম লাওছ কেম্বোডিয়া African nations all the small countries and poor countries their markets are engulfed with Chinese goods you believe it গোটেইখন তাহাঁতি কব্জা কৰি লৈছে সেইকাৰণেতো এতিয়া আমাৰ ইণ্ডিয়াই কৈছে মেক ইন ইণ্ডিয়া কৰা কিমান দূৰ হ'ব মই বুজা নাই ভাবাও নাই এতিয়া আৰু এটা মই যে অলপ আগতে ক'লো ট্ৰাম্পে যে এই ভিজা এইটো কথা কৈছে, এইটো ক'লেতো মাৰাত্মক কথা হ'ব। আমাৰ ইণ্ডিয়ানছ বহুত চাকৰিয়াল নাই জানো, তাকো খেদাই দিব মোক। পঢ়া শুনা ল'ৰা গৈছে তাকো খেদাই দিব। ই মানে মানুহটো অলপ মুদি হৈ গৈছে। কেতিয়াবা তোমাক ভালকে মৰম কৰিলে, কাইলৈ ক'ৰবাত পৰহি কৰিলে কি এইটো ইজ কেনচেল ভিজা। চ' ডেটছ ৱাই মই অলপ আগতে ক'লো, সম্পৰ্ক আমাৰ ফেমিলি সম্পৰ্কৰ নিচিনাই দেই। মই সদায় আগতেই পঢ়াইছিলো, আমাৰ ৰুবুল খনিকৰকো কৈছিলো, আগতে পঢ়াইছোতো মই যে ফেমিলিত যেনেকে এদিন কাজিয়া হয় কেতিয়াবা তোমাৰ ভাইৰ লগত, ভন্টিৰ লগত, এদিন আকৌ ভাল হৈ যোৱা নাই। এই আন্তৰ্জাতিক সম্পৰ্কও একে। আজি পাকিস্তানক বেয়া কৰিছে, কি ঠিক কাইলৈ পৰহি তুমি কিজানি বন্ধুৱে হৈ গ'লা। আৰু হৈছিলে, ইণ্ডিয়া পাকিস্তানৰ সম্পৰ্ক ভাল হৈছিলে মাজতে। আমি নানকানা চাহেব পাকিস্তানত যাব পাৰো, আমাৰ চৰ্দাৰজী বিলাক। তাহাঁতি আমাৰ ইয়াত আহিব পাৰে। ট্ৰেড ৰিলেশ্যনটো হৈছিলে মাজত।
লাহোৰ
কিন্তু এয়া
এক্সপ্ৰেছৰ
চোৱা,
পৰা হেৰি হৈছে।
সম্পৰ্কটো মানে একদম মানে পাৰ্মানেণ্ট কেতিয়াও হ'ব নোৱাৰে। এইটো মই আমেৰিকান হিষ্ট্ৰী পঢ়োতেও কৈছিলো দেই। পাৰ্মানেণ্ট এলায়েন্স কেতিয়াও হ'ব নোৱাৰে। হয়নে? আজি ভাল হ'ব, কাইলৈ বেয়া হ'ব। প্ৰশ্ন ভাল আছিলে তোমাৰ। উত্তৰটো দিব
Thank you,
পাৰিলো নে?
sir. পাৰিলে sir, পাৰিলে।
থেংক ইউ।
Thank you, sir.
আৰু কিবা? তুমি কোন ডিপাৰ্টমেণ্ট ক'লা?
Sir, history.
হিষ্ট্ৰী ক'ত তাতে?
হয় sir, ডিব্ৰুগড়
কলেজ?
ইউনিভাৰ্চিটি। হয়, ডিব্ৰুগড় কলেজ sir, জিবি কলেজ।
মই তোমাক কোৱা নাই, কেলে মই থাৰ্ড চেমিষ্টাৰতে পাম।
হয় sir,
বুজি পাইছা? Then I
হয়
will
sir.
teach you foreign policy. That paper is there.
Thank you, sir.
বুজিলা? I'll meet you soon. Okay.
Okay, sir.
আৰু কোৱা। আৰু কোনোবা?
হেল্ল' ছাৰ
হেল্ল', হা।
অঁ শুনিছে
কওক।
শুনিছে ছাৰ
শুনিছো। কওক। শুনা।
নমস্কাৰ ছাৰ। মই
নমস্কাৰ।
ডিব্ৰুগড় বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ৰ ৰাজনীতি বিজ্ঞান বিভাগৰ এজন ছাত্ৰ।
কওক।
ছাৰ মই মানে এটা কথা জানিব বিচাৰিছো মানে, যিহেতু আমি আগৰ পৰাই দেখি আহিছো যে 1947 চনৰ পিছৰ পৰাই মানে ভাৰত আৰু আমাৰ আমেৰিকাৰ যিটো ৰিলেশ্যন আছে, সেই ৰিলেশ্যন অকণমান আপ ডাউন হৈ থাকে। মানে কেতিয়াবা ভাল হয়, কেতিয়াবা বেয়া হয়, মানে তেনেকুৱা হয়।
হয়।
এই ক্ষেত্ৰত মানে এতিয়া কিন্তু 21st চেঞ্চুৰীৰ পৰা অলপ ভাল হবলৈ আহিছে, কিন্তু ভাল হৈছে, পৰাপক্ষত বহুত ভাল হৈছে। কিন্তু এইটো
হৈছে
এটা
হৈছে।
এতিয়া আমেৰিকাই এইটো এনেকে ভাবিছে নি বাৰু যে আপকামিং চাইনা আহি আছে, চাইনাই যদি তেওঁলোকৰ মাৰ্কেট, ইকনমিক চব যদি দখল কৰি লয় বা হেজিমন হৈ যায় পৃথিৱীত, তেতিয়াহ'লেতো আমেৰিকাৰ কোনো অস্তিত্ব নাথাকিব। মানে ইণ্ডিয়াক তেওঁলোকে ছেকেণ্ডাৰী এটা চ'ৰ্চ হিচাপে ল'ব বিচাৰিছে নি বাৰু কিবা?
নহয়। ইণ্ডিয়ানো ইমান কি আছে, ইমান আমাৰ হেল্প ল'ব, হয় নাই? মই অলপ আগতে এটা কথা কৈছিলো যে 2+2 মনত
য়েছ
পৰিছে নে?
ছাৰ য়েছ ছাৰ
চোৱা,
জাপান
ইণ্ডিয়া অকলে একো কৰিব নোৱাৰে, বুজিছানে? আমাৰ কেপাচিটিও নাই। আমাৰ ডিফেন্সো ইমান ষ্ট্ৰং নহয় যিমানে কোৱা। অকে, ইকনমি উই আৰ নট ষ্ট্ৰং এট অল। চ' আমেৰিকাও এতিয়া অলপতো ভয় কৰিব, নহয় জানো? কেলে থাৰ্ড ৱৰ্ল্ড কাণ্ট্ৰিত চব চাইনাই সোমাই গৈছে, হয় নে নহয়? চ' সেইকাৰণে
হয়
কৈছে
হয় ছাৰ
ইণ্ডিয়া, অষ্ট্ৰেলিয়া, জাপান, USA এওঁলোকক লাগিবই। আৰু এটা সময়ত তুমিতো পলিটিকেল চাইন্সৰ হয় ন ষ্টুডেণ্ট? তুমি আজি
হয়
2-3
হয় ছাৰ
বছৰ আগতে শুনিছিলা বোধহয়, ইণ্ডিয়া, জাপান আৰু ৰাছিয়া একেলগ হোৱাৰ কথা ভাবিছিলে কি নাই? টু কাউণ্টাৰ
হয় হয়
USA। কিন্তু আজি সেই একেটা দিন নাই। মই কৈছো ৰিলেশ্যনশ্বিপ একে নাথাকে নহয়, হয়নে? ত' আজি আমি কি কৈছো 2+2 4। এইটো কাইলৈ পৰহি আকৌ বেলেগ হৈ যাব পাৰে। চ' চাইনাক কাউণ্টাৰ কৰিবলৈ হ'লে USA অকলে নোৱাৰে। ইট ইজ ইম্পচিবল। আমাৰ ইষ্ট এছিয়াত, অন্তত চাউথ ইষ্ট এছিয়াত, she requires the help of Australia. কেলে অষ্ট্ৰেলিয়াৰ তলত আছে ন চাউথ ইণ্ডিয়ান অ'চেনৰ তলত, নহয় জানো? অষ্ট্ৰেলিয়া আছে, কাষত
হয়
জাপান
হয় হয়
আছে, নে নাই? আমি যেতিয়া পঢ়াইছিলো চাইনা
আছে
জাপান মই পঢ়াইছিলো, চাইনা জাপান were never good friends. Please remember that. জাপানে দেখোন চাইনাক পানী
হয়
খুৱাই
ছাৰ
দিছিলে চিনো জাপানিজ ৱাৰত। এইবিলাক আমি এম এত পঢ়াইছিলো আগতে। আৰু কিবা আছিলে?
নাই ছাৰ
এনিবডি
হ'ব
আছে ন? থেংক ইউ। আৰু ৰুবুল
ছাৰ
হ'লনে? আৰু কিবা আছে?
ছাৰ
আমাৰ ষ্টুডেণ্ট আহিছে নে নাই আৰু?
আহিছে। Any question,
আহিছে?
please?
কিবা ডাউট আছে নেকি? নে কিবা বুজিবলৈ আছে অসমীয়াত?
Question, please, from the participant.
পাৰ্টিচিপেণ্টে লাষ্ট কৈছে আকৌ।
Perhaps there is no question, sir.
নাই নেকি? এনেই তেতিয়াহ'লে আমি সামৰণি মাৰিব পাৰো, নহয় জানো?
ঠিক আছে, thank you, sir.
So thank you very much. I thank the principal, Dr. Gogoi. I thank you also. I thank the other coordinators, deputy coordinators, staff members, the faculty members of Duliajan College, IQSC members, and all the participants of today's webinar. Thank you all for giving me this opportunity of enlightening you on Indo-US relations. Thank you and hope to meet you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Now I request Mr. Rajiv Dole, faculty member of Duliajan College History Department. Now I request him to give the vote of thanks. Rajiv?
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hunjo.
Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
A very good afternoon to all. Respected distinguished resource person of the webinar, Dr. Biswajit Barua sir, Professor of History, Dibu University. Respected Principal sir, Dr. Gogoi sir, and our beloved HOD Rubel sir, and my colleague Hunmani Gogoi. And to all the participants of the webinar, I, Rajiv Kumar Dole, Department of History, Don College, deem it a great honor to propose the vote of thanks to all who have helped us in making this webinar such a resounding success. First of all, I would like to propose a hearty vote of thanks to our resource person, Barua sir, for gracing today's webinar. Thank you, sir, for your very informative delivery on the topic, which was very interesting and meaningful. Next, I'd like to express our profound gratitude to our principal, sir, for his presence in the webinar and for his support and guidance in making the webinar successful. I would also like to thank our beloved HOD, Rubel sir, for conducting this webinar and making it successful. I would like to thank the coordinators of IQAC, Dr. Nath sir and Joyintal sir, for making his webinar a great success. I also like to thank Mr. Manoj Deka sir for his technical support, who have been running around doing a lot of things for making this webinar successful. Thank you so much again, sir. I'm happy to express vote of thanks to our staff members who made this webinar a great success. Finally, thanks to all the participants from our colleges and from different colleges for participating in this webinar and making it successful. Thank you so much for your cooperation. Once again, I thank all for your cordial cooperation. Thank you. And over to Rubel, sir.
Thank you, Rajiv. Sir, that's okay for sir?
Kwa. Ekolne?
So for sure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, sir.